Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, agents. I'm Annika, and welcome to another Division Let's Talk. And this Let's Talk is going to be my final PTS Let's Talk, and it is going to wrap up my final thoughts on the PTS and what I thought. So now that we've concluded 1.4 of PTS, I think I should share my experience, honestly. The one thing I felt, and I still feel rings the truest, is that they removed any reason to do any of the content. This is both a positive and a negative. The positive, it allows you to do only the content that you want to do. The negative, people are going to complain that there isn't anything to do. And it's true. There are, if you were playing 1.3 and you're going to 1.4, there's nothing new for you to do. It's still the same game at the core of it, but there's going to be changes to it. Part of the problem with the Division is that the game before is jam-packed with things to do. Underground, Dark Zone, incursions, HVTs, daily missions, and content people don't enjoy, which is still the same stuff. It's Underground, it's Dark Zone, incursions, HVTs, and daily missions. Nobody likes 100% of everything there. You can pick your poison because it doesn't matter what you have an opinion on one piece of the content or the other. You may hate Clear Sky and love Dragon's Nest. Let's face it, no one likes Falcon's Lost. Poor Falcon's Lost. We need to pour one out for Falcon's Lost, that content and what it could have been. However, maybe you'll enjoy it post 1.4 era of the game. Who knows? Now that there are a huge number of ways to get gear, you don't need to do the content you don't want to do. However, I think Massive missed the point of this completely, and I'm going to talk about this in regards to the PTS. Sure, yes, there are people who will be just as content to do the stuff that they want to do, but people want content, and they want content that they enjoy. If you didn't enjoy the content before 1.4, you're not going to enjoy the content after because the content's the same. It's just they just made it a little bit easier. They would have been happier if making the content areas enjoyable rather than making them an option not to do. Now, we'll see people complaining that there isn't anything to do because instead of opening up the content and making it fun, they just are now giving the option not to do the stuff that you deem not fun. And part of the problem is that they had this issue where part of it wasn't fun because you couldn't kill the enemies, but now you can. So maybe that's going to change for you, but maybe not. So instead of making, things like PvE Dark Zone or fixing the Dark Zone altogether, they just made it so you no longer need to do the Dark Zone. Problem solved. Less complaining about gear in the Dark Zone if you don't need to do the Dark Zone. I'm going to say this, 1.4 was a huge step in the right direction. It was also a huge step in limiting what you do. This all goes to the question that is on your mind and the one thing that you want to know, from my opinion, and that is, will 1.4 save the Division? The quick and dirty answer is no. That no stands for the fact that it's not going to revive the Division to where it was back in the heyday of March with hundreds of thousands of people playing. That does not mean it won't bring people back for a short time or that the Division is going away anytime soon. Believe me, everyone says the Division is dead. It's not. It's not even close. The Division won't die off until they shut down the servers and the amount of people playing no longer supports the justification for the cost they need for the servers running. EA is a good example because they keep a lot of their games running well beyond the life cycle of the player base, and a lot of those players drop into the double digits. Like there could be 10 people playing, EA will have one server up for them. That's really what it comes down to. The Division is not going to die until it gets down to the point where it's not cost effective anymore. And this problem goes far beyond the content fixes that they did. The problem is that it's October outside right now, and we're still stuck in the game in December 2015. The world of the Division isn't persistent, it's not perpetual. We're stuck in the same time loop like this is some sort of Groundhog Day movie, and players can't seem to get through that. Because of this non-persistent world, you can't have Halloween events, you can't have other special events, you can't have holiday-themed events because the world isn't moving on, at least not on console. PC mods might be a possibility to revive the Division, but sadly, I don't see that happening without people actually taking an interest in developing mods for this game, and even so much more because Ubisoft controls the servers that won't happen. In many games that we play, time passes, minutes, hours, days, it all moves forward. But in the Division, every day is exactly the same. This would not be that hard to fix, though, through some very creative time and effort put into the game. You see, the city isn't going to change, but was never made to change. Perpetual energy powering car batteries, fires that never burn out, civilization that will never progress. It's a depressing thought that these people are stuck in this environment. Sure, they won't ever die, but would you enjoy living every day in a world that was never changed? It would be like if I told you that you had to pick one, Christmas movie, your favorite Christmas movie to watch for the rest of your life, and that's it. So take your pick. You get to watch Elf, A Christmas Story, or some other, iteration of these movies and that's it. Because in this world, you are Bill Murray and you are stuck in Groundhog Day hell forever. Now, some people don't see that as a problem. Matthew McConaughey would be thrilled because, as he say, I keep getting older and they stay the same age. This is the truth for the Division. You progress in skill, gear, equipment until you can't anymore, but the enemies will always stay the same. Cleaners will always have flamethrowers. The same two guys will always try and club you with baseball bats like they've watched The Walking Dead and Negan is their role model. And that actually, they can't see Negan because these events happened before Negan was introduced in the TV show. At least the TV show. Now, if they progress time in this world, would this change things? Maybe. But only if the content and the events happened along with it. The DLCs would have to be, the DLCs would have been perfect for a way to progress time. But apparently, word about Colonel Bliss's demise hasn't yet reached a lot of the factions within the city. The cleaners still follow a dead Joe Farrow like he's some sort of alive person just walking around in his big giant flame suit, and Lorraine Bennett, well, she's still out there playing the race card. Forever. She will be doing that forever. You see, the point of the matter is all of these successful MMOs that are out there aren't stuck in the same time. They're able to shift and move as though they're through, in a passage of time. And the thing is, we were promised some sort of snowy changing environment or changing environments or something like that never ended up being put in the game. This is a game with a linear storyline, yet nothing changes based on the events of the storyline. The same events are happening that happened when you first arrived in the city. It's things that you should have shaped the world or changed everything in it outside of setting up you set up the base of operations. That's the only thing that's changed. This here feels very much like you haven't made a difference through the storyline, and that's probably why the storyline hasn't progressed. So is 1.4 going to change things? Yes, it's going to make many of you realize that the unfun activities are fun again and that the game is fun again. It might be fun for a lot of people and it might, bring a lot of people back, but I don't see that happening, at least not right now. And it's not all doom and gloom. It could very possibly bring some people back and they may love it. And, but is it going to make all the activities fun? No, because the activities you thought were not fun to begin with, like PvP in the Dark Zone, will remain, and instead of changing the way they are played, they decided to change the way you play them. The only thing in 1.4 that changes is the player, the enemy health, and a few other things that at the end of the day, it's still the same game underneath, and if you didn't enjoy it before 1.4, you might not enjoy it now. Like if you didn't have any complaints before 1.4, then this is the same. Like you're gonna have the same complaints because it's the same game event, essentially underneath. It's the same, mechanics, it's the same enemy AI. You're just running through the same city with just different, proportionate, behaviors for your guns and energy and health and stamina and all of that stuff. Your stats have changed, but nothing else has. Everything else is going to be the same. There's going to be HVTs, there's going to be, enemies running around, but walking through the city, it's still very much an empty city. Nothing is respawned. There are guys running around, but there's no factions. Everybody thinks that, Joe Farrow is still alive, Colonel Bliss is still alive, all that stuff, they're still alive out there in the world in their mind because nothing has changed since day one. It is still the same day that you arrived in the city. It is only just a matter of minutes later. And that is what, I don't understand. Like, we need things to progress. And I don't feel like the game helps you to feel that way. And does that ruin the game? No, of course not. That's not going to ruin a game for me. And it's just there's a lot of stuff. And if this is an RPG, and this all goes to the RPG element. If this is an RPG, where is the RPG element? Like, there's no role play if you role play the same day over and over again. It's nothing changes. It's the thing. I had this gripe at the very beginning. All the lights on the cars are on, the fires are burning in a perpetual, every day the fires are burning. There's nothing, people aren't putting out the fires. The snow isn't putting out the fires. You would think that somebody be putting out all of these fires, and you'd think that the cleaners would be lighting fires or something to that effect, but nothing is changing in the city. This world is stuck in the same day as it was since we launched back in March, and that is part of the problem, is that there's nothing to help us progress in our minds and in our, in the feeling of the game, other than the fact that I'm getting new gear and that things are opening up. The only real progression is every time Massive decides to release something, it's a little bit more, but it's still the same day. They're just releasing something else, and it doesn't feel real. Like, that's the problem. And there's a lot of games out there that are progressing. This game has a linear storyline, yet none of that matters at the end of the day. You have no idea where Aaron Keener went. You have no idea a lot of the stuff is going on, and I don't know that we're going to get answers, and I don't know what to do, because I'm going to keep playing this game. That's, I love this game. It's a great game, but at the end of the day, there's nothing for me to keep going. Like, I have all the gear that I need. I have all the weapons. So what's the purpose of replaying everything over and over again if it's not to get more gear? Like, I can continually get gear, but at the end of the day, there's no end game content. And so it forces you to go into the dark zone to find some sort of end game content, some meaning of life. And so, at the end of the day, I enjoyed 1.4, I enjoyed the PTS, but I can't say that I'm going to continue to play this game forever like I did like a lot of other games. Like Destiny, I still go back to that because there's still fresh content. I enjoy playing through all of the content on Destiny. There are a lot of things in the Division I don't like playing, and now I don't even need to do that because I can go get gear wherever I want, and I can choose the activities that I participate in, and that's going to be the main selling point for 1.4. So 1.4 will appeal and give the game a much needed boost. But once you've done everything 100 times as you did before, you'll find yourself looking at other games again. Survival will help quell that for some time once it's released, but the numbers aren't going to grow significantly like they were back in March. All of what I said leads to the one major issue. There's just a severe lack of endgame content. Anyway, that is my time. I know this was long and I could have kept going, but I think that I need to wait and see the state of the game tonight to fully understand where we are headed and the time frame for 1.4. Who knows? Maybe tonight is going to be 1.4 night and they're going to release it tonight for everybody. But until then, good night, good luck, and drop a like on this video. Agent out.